If you've ever wondered if whether your child grows up to be really social or really shy, if that's something that's God-given or if that's something that can actually be reprogrammed and changed, I think you're going to find this video pretty interesting. There's a book out there right now called Raising an Emotionally Intelligent Child, and it's written by John Gottman, and it's a fascinating read that has a story inside of it of a study that was done that I absolutely have to share with you because it reveals the #1 factor for how you can raise up a child to be social versus shy. In Gottman's book, he outlines a study that he did of 55 families where he took these families with children starting about the age of 4, married couples, that kind of a thing with young children, and would weekly interview them all the way up until the point where the children were into their early 20s, having jobs, that kind of thing. And he would in these interviews, he'd document everything that happened that week. So fights that they had with the parents or the siblings, how were those fights resolved? What did they do for fun? What kinds of things did they do for fun? When did they make their first friends? What kind of things did they like to play? On and on and on and on and on. What did they eat? Everything, right? Literally everything. And he documented it all for a whole children's lives. Fascinating for me that anyone would be willing to go through that amount of work, and kudos for him to doing so. But the part that I want to share with you is something that I thought was very interesting that Gottman noticed in his research. He noticed, as you might expect, that some kids, when they started to come into school year age, developed lots of friends, and some kids didn't. Kind of like any random population would turn out to be, right? If you took any random amount of people, some would have friends, some wouldn't. Not that shocking. What is shocking is Gottman decided to ask himself the question, I wonder if anything that the parents did when the children were younger made it so that they turned out social versus shy. And what Gottman discovered was very fascinating to me. He discovered that literally the #1 reason or determining factor that made up kids who were really social compared to really shy was if their father roughhoused with them. Now that might sound really weird to you, as it did to me, but it rang true. I'm actually a really shy person. I just hide behind a camera on the internet to pretend that I'm not shy, but in person at a party, I'm kind of the quiet guy in the corner. And my father didn't roughhouse with me, and I suggest that you ask yourself the same question. If you're a shy person or a social person, did you have a father who was really active in your life, physically roughhousing, that kind of a thing? And here's how they kind of stumbled on to not only that was the determining factor. They realized, oh, roughhousing creates social kids. They then wanted to figure out, well, why? Well, as it turns out, there's another group of people that also grow up to be really social. And this, sadly, are the type of people who have been, as children, beaten by adults in their home. A granddad, a dad, an uncle, that sort of a thing. And what the researchers have discovered is the reason that these kids end up being social, and how they discovered this was these kids who've been beaten or physically abused end up developing a super heightened ability to read facial cues. And the reason they have to read facial cues is because in order to not get beaten, they have to be really good at knowing exactly what dad or exactly what an uncle is thinking or what mood they're in so they don't set them off. So they tread lightly and they learn to very accurately determine people's emotional states and what they're thinking. Well, as it turns out, this is the same skill, although in a much more positive light, that roughhousing creates in children in a non-abusive way. And here's why. You see, fathers are interesting people. We tend to get either really lazy, we'll sit on the couch, watch TV for hours and do nothing, and then all of a sudden we'll jump off the couch and pounce on our kids and tickle them and throw them up in the air, and then we'll calm right back down. So it's a very up and down type of emotional roller coaster, and our kids start to be able to look at it like, oh, is dad gonna come get me right now? Or, okay, dad's settling back down, that means I need to calm down. And they get instant feedback. If they think that dad wants to tickle them, and so they pounce on dad, but dad was really trying to relax, dad gives immediate feedback of, no, you guessed wrong right there, son, or you guessed wrong right there, daughter, I'm really relaxing. So they get instant back and forth feedback on reading the moods of people. So as something to try for yourself, if you tend to find yourself the type of person who does not roughhouse with your children, whether you're male or female, I would highly suggest starting to roughhouse with your kids. I think it is awesome that this research has provided an insight into a tool you can easily do. Just roughhouse with your kids. Tickle them, throw them on beds, have little pillow fights, bounce on them in bouncy houses, knock them down, get them, that kind of stuff. Or find someone who will. Maybe it's a neighbor, older kid that'll do it, or if you're a single mom, the husband of your friend next door, whatever it is, get them roughhousing. If you'll do this, I think you'll drastically improve the social skills of your child. Obviously, it's not the only thing that can improve your child's social skills, but it's one that's proven to be a huge determining factor. And then go get John Gottman's book, Raising an Emotionally Intelligent Child. I think it's an investment that will, for just a few bucks, will really give you also a lot of other tools that you can use to help your child grow up to be more social.